Shalom and welcome to the weekend edition of the Daily Dose of Hebrew. Today we're looking at Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 19. In the previous verses, of course, the Lord had been announcing his coming correction, judgment against his people, and even though in verse 18 we saw a little glimmer of hope and grace coming through there, we're going to wind up this passage here in verse 19 with sort of a summary statement. It's a long verse, but not very complicated. Let's go ahead and read it in Hebrew. V'haya ki tomeru tachat me asa Adonai Eloheinu lanu et kol אלה ואמרת אליהם כאשר עזבתם אותי ותעבדו אלוהי נקח בארצכם כן תעבדו זרים בארץ לא לכם. Well, that's quite a mouthful there. It's a long verse, as I said. And it will come about, and it will be. So what we have here is just a regular old, it's a perfect consecutive. It's a 3ms, and this is obviously a cal from our verb haya. And this usually throws us into the future a little bit. And it will be, and it will come about that to'amru. So what we have here with a tau at the beginning with the end, this is just going to be an imperfect, pf, and it's going to be a 2mp cal from amar, or this is either that they will say, or when this could actually be more of a when idea, they will say, and what is it the people are going to be saying? This is obviously referring to the people of Jerusalem now. Tachat, which is a preposition usually meaning under. And so literally we would have under what, but this can also be in the place of what, or more the idea of in return for what. In other words, for what reason? Or if we want to put it a little more simply, why? For what reason the Lord Yahweh, our God, Eloheinu, so this is our God, has done to us, and what has he done to us? All these. And we might translate this as all these things here. So why is the Lord doing all these things that he's been announcing in the previous verses? Va'amarta, so this is referring now to Jeremiah because we have an imperfect consecutive here, cal, 2ms, and the ta ending here referring to Jeremiah. And you will say, this is God speaking to Jeremiah, you will say to them, just a preposition el with the 3mp suffix to them. So you will say to the people when they ask you, why is God doing this? According as, or in as much as, here's the explanation that's coming. It's because that, according as you have abandoned. So we have azavtem, so we have just a perfect 2mp. This is a cal from our verb azav, mean to abandon. This is a word which is very common in Jeremiah. You see it way back in his first oracle in chapter 2. You have abandoned me, direct object marker with the first common singular suffix on it. You have abandoned me, and you have served. So this one here is a perfect, this one here is an imperfect consecutive with the tau and the u, but with a vav consecutive at the very beginning. This is also a cal. And you have served gods of, so here's Elohim, but this is obviously in the construct state with the serioth here. Gods of, in nekar is a noun, which means foreignness. But gods of foreignness almost makes this into an adjectival sort of a sense. In other words, foreign gods, gods which are not native to your land or native to who you should be as a people. You have served gods of foreignness in your land, in the land of you. In other words, in the land of Israel, because you have served foreign gods in your land. Thus, or for this reason, thus so you will serve. Now this is an imperfect, but this is not an imperfect consecutive. It's a simple imperfect. This one here threw it back into the past. This is what you have done. This is what you will do. You will serve zarim. Zarim is this is a participle, masculine plural participle from the verb zur, which means to live as a foreigner, zur, to be a stranger. So you will serve strangers. Now this could refer to the people. In some context, it could actually refer to foreign gods. If it's not spelled out, it remains a little bit ambiguous, but it could be foreign gods, but certainly foreigners. You will serve foreigners in a land, loch lechem, which is not to you, which is not yours, not your land. So you've served foreign gods in your land. You will serve now foreign gods in a foreign land, which shows the reason why God has brought all this destruction upon his people. It's pretty straightforward. It's not a complicated thing when the Lord brings correction to his people. Let's go ahead and hide our work here, squeeze it down, and look at just a couple of translations. There's not a lot of variation. There's not too many other ways you can go with a text like this. Let's look at the old King James here. And it shall come to pass, for that v'haya, usually omitted by most of our modern translations, and it shall come to pass when ye, this is the plural over here, when ye shall say, wherefore doth the Lord our God all these things unto us. The things they put in italics there, all these unto us. Then shalt thou, going to Jeremiah right here, then where is it? Up here. Here we go. Then shalt thou answer them, Jeremiah, like as ye have forsaken me and served strange gods in your land, so shall ye serve strangers in a land that is not yours. So good, straightforward translation there. You might wonder, looking just at King James, if the word strange over here and the word strangers down here are from the same. Here they're not directly, although they are synonyms. As we'll see. They're a little bit more distinguished, for instance, in the Revised Standard Version. And when your people say, so instead of having, and when you say, they've actually specified that a little bit more clearly, especially in English, because you don't always distinguish between the yous here as a plural and the you shall say to them as a singular, referring to Jeremiah. So translators here put the word people in, even though you don't actually have it up there. When your people say, why has the Lord our God done all these things to us? You, singular Jeremiah, shall say to them, as you have forsaken me and served foreign gods in your land, so you shall serve strangers. So here they made a distinction between foreign gods of foreignness, and strangers. So that's a little more obvious there, closer to the Hebrew, in a land that is not yours, announcing this coming captivity. The Lord does have severe things to say to his people, and yet don't forget that promise in the previous verse, in verse 18, that he will keep a remnant and he will bring them back. But there are consequences when God's people turn from him. It's so much better to keep our focus where it should be. Well, check back with us soon as we continue working our way through Jeremiah chapter 5 in the weekend edition of the Daily Dose of Hebrew. Shalom.